What is anger, and why is it destructive? Greetings, friends. Today we will talk about anger, one of the most insidious enemies that destroys our lives from within. Anger is not just an emotion. It is a force that can consume us if we do not learn to control it. How many times have you said or done something in a fit of anger and later regretted it? How many relationships have been broken, opportunities lost, and decisions made under the influence of this destructive emotion? Anger in our lives. Anger can be seen everywhere, in conflicts between people, in wars between nations, in everyday quarrels. Many believe that anger gives them strength and helps them stand up for their rights. But is that really the case? The Stoics, ancient philosophers whom we will quote in this video, thought otherwise. They saw anger as a weakness, not a strength. Seneca said, "Anger is like a brief insanity." But why? Because anger makes us act irrationally and unconsciously. It clouds our minds and pushes us toward actions we later regret. How anger affects the body and mind. Anger not only damages our relationships, but also harms us on a physiological level. When we get angry, a huge amount of stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, are released into the bloodstream. This leads to an increased heart rate, high blood pressure, and muscle tension. If a person frequently experiences anger, it leads to chronic stress, heart disease, and a weakened immune system. Even the brain suffers. Studies show that chronic anger reduces cognitive abilities and contributes to degenerative diseases. Anger as a mental trap. One of the main problems with anger is its self-perpetuating cycle. The more we get angry, the more we reinforce reasons for our anger in our minds. We begin to see the world through the lens of resentment, noticing only things that irritate us, thereby amplifying our rage. This vicious cycle is difficult to break, but that is exactly what we will focus on in the next parts of this video. In the next chapter, we will analyze what the Stoics said about anger, how they proposed dealing with this emotion, and what practices can help us gain control over ourselves. Part 2. What did the Stoics say about anger? In the first part, we discussed how anger affects us and why it is a destructive force. Now let's turn to the Stoics, philosophers who, more than anyone else, understood human emotions and offered effective ways to deal with them. What did they say about anger? Seneca on anger. A brief insanity. Lucius Aeneas. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoics, dedicated an entire treatise to anger. On anger. In it he wrote that anger is a brief insanity. When a person is overcome by rage, they lose their ability to reason. Their mind is clouded, and their actions become irrational. Imagine a person who, in a fit of anger, smashes their phone or yells at a friend. Later, when emotions subside, they regret what they have done. This is the insanity Seneca spoke of. We lose control of ourselves, act impulsively, and harm not only others, but also ourselves. Marcus Aurelius. You are not obliged to be angry. Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Anger arises when we believe someone has acted unjustly. But you are not obliged to feel anger. That is merely your interpretation of what happened." The Stoics taught that our emotions result from our thoughts. If we perceive an event as unfair, we get angry. But if we change our perception, anger will disappear. A practice from Marcus Aurelius. The next time you feel anger rising, ask yourself, can I see this situation differently? Perhaps the person did not intend to offend you. Perhaps circumstances made it inevitable. Try shifting your perspective. Epictetus. Who controls you, you or your emotions? Epictetus was born a slave, yet he became one of the greatest philosophers of antiquity. He said, "It is not what happens to you that causes your anger, but your reaction to it." We cannot control the external world, but we can control our attitude toward it. Two people can find themselves in the same situation. Say, their boss yells at them. One person seethes with anger all day, while the other shrugs it off and moves on. What's the difference? Perception. The first person let emotions control them, while the second remained at peace. Part 3. Practical Stoic Techniques for Managing Anger. Now it is time to move on to the most important part, methods for controlling this emotion. After all, Stoic philosophy was not just theoretical. It offered concrete practices for managing one's mind and emotions. Delaying reaction. Anger lasts a moment, but its consequences last a lifetime. One of the key Stoic techniques is pausing before reacting. Seneca advised seeing anger as a temporary clouding of the mind. The longer we wait before reacting, the weaker the emotion becomes. Changing perspective. It is not the event that makes you angry, but your interpretation. The Stoics taught that we get angry not because of events themselves, but because of how we interpret them. Epictetus said, "If something irritates you, ask yourself, is this really a problem or just my perception?" Visualizing the worst-case scenario. Premeditatio malorum. One of the most powerful Stoic tools is mental preparation for difficulties. Marcus Aurelius practiced premeditatio malorum, anticipating possible problems. Practicing contrast thinking. We often get angry over small things, forgetting how much we have. Stoics advised reminding ourselves that things could be worse. Controlling the body. A calm body leads to a calm mind. Physical state directly affects emotions. Anger is accompanied by muscle tension and rapid breathing. Relaxing the body helps calm the mind. Part 4. Historical examples of Stoic composure. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who did not succumb to anger. When his trusted ally Avidius Cassius rebelled, Marcus Aurelius showed restraint instead of revenge, choosing mercy over rage. Seneca, composure in the face of death. Ordered to commit suicide by Nero, Seneca remained calm, comforting his friends and accepting his fate with dignity. Epictetus, a slave who refused to be angry. Even in the face of cruelty, Epictetus controlled his reaction, demonstrating true inner strength. George Washington, Stoicism in the modern world. By maintaining composure and humility, Washington diffused a potential military mutiny through calm reasoning. Part 5. How to apply Stoicism in everyday life. Awareness. Observe your anger. Recognizing the triggers of anger is the first step to control. Practicing premeditation of adversities. Prepare for daily challenges to minimize emotional reactions. Developing tolerance through voluntary discomfort. Periodically limiting comforts helps build resilience. Accepting what is beyond your control. Anger often arises from trying to change the unchangeable. Daily reflection, review moments of anger, and learn from them to develop self-mastery. Stoicism as a path to inner peace. Anger is a trap, but Stoic philosophy offers tools to achieve inner harmony. Self-discipline, acceptance, and awareness are keys to serenity. Thank you for being with me in this video. Share in the comments which techniques you like the most and which you already use in your life. Subscribe to the channel. There's much more valuable content ahead.